I was 18 the year the boss cornered me in a bathroom stall. He braced one hand against the door, his breath so hot it nearly seared my ear. "I'm not into guys," he said, his voice low and raspy with a hint of a struggle. "But if it's you, maybe I could give it a try." My knees went weak, my soul threatening to flee my body. I was just about to confess that the whole being a guy thing was a complete sham. Suddenly, his right-hand man, Gus, let out a yell from behind him. "Lewis. You've got a nosebleed." Lewis subconsciously swiped a hand under his nose. He stared at the smear of red on his fingertips, but his eyes stayed locked on me, his expression terrifyingly calm. "It's nothing," he told Gus, completely unruffled. "You see a total knockout, you're bound to get a little worked up." Gus was speechless. So was I. "Dude, the knockout you're getting worked up over is me?" A genuine, 100% girl who shaved her head into a buzz cut and wore a chest binder so tight she could barely breathe, all for a base salary of $3,000 a month? Heaven as my witness, all I wanted was for the ground to swallow me whole. And maybe to ask the big guy upstairs if the world had gone completely off its rocker. The story starts 3 months earlier. My name is Ava, and the day my college entrance exam scores came out was also the day we got news about a kidney donor for my brother. The surgery costs hung over me like a mountain, crushing the air from my lungs. My deadbeat gambling dad had vanished ages ago, leaving me to care for my brother in his hospital bed. Just as I was staring hopelessly at the mountain of medical bills, a job posting floated into my view like a lifeline. Eclipse, a premier private club, is urgently hiring servers. Requirements: male, presentable, quick on your feet. Base salary $5,000, with unlimited commission. I hesitated for 3 seconds when I saw the word male. Then I walked into the cheapest barbershop on the street and said goodbye to the long, dark hair in the mirror. "Buzz it," I said. "As short as you can go." The electric clippers hummed, and black hair fell like snowflakes. The girl in the mirror had delicate features, but her eyes held a stubborn glint that didn't match her age. The next day, clutching a fake ID I'd paid $30 for, I threw on my baggiest t-shirt, wound a thick binder tightly around my chest, and strode into Eclipse with my head held high. The name on the fake ID was Sam. The man who interviewed me was Gus, Lewis's most trusted enforcer. They just called him Gus. He was built like a tank, with a blue dragon tattoo coiling from his neck down to his arm. He was not someone you wanted to mess with. He looked me up and down. At 5 feet 7 inches, I wasn't exactly tall for a guy, but I was slim, with clean-cut features and a pair of sharp, intelligent eyes. "You look like a string bean. You sure you can handle the work?" he asked in a gruff voice. I immediately straightened my back and puffed out my chest. "Sir, I might not have much, but I've got good instincts and I'm a hard worker." Maybe the desperation in my eyes was too intense, because Gus just sighed and waved a hand. "Fine, we'll give you a trial run. Just remember, the owner here is Lewis. Don't mess with him." And just like that, I, Ava, became Sam, a male server. The job was simple enough, serving drinks, taking orders. But I knew that if I wanted to earn serious commission, that wouldn't be enough. I was a smooth talker and knew how to read the room. With the businessmen who came for meetings, I kept my mouth shut and only appeared when needed. With the rich wives who came to unwind, I became their supportive confidant, chatting about makeup and gossip until they were thrilled, tipping me more generously than anyone else. Within a month, I, a total rookie, had miraculously shot into the top 3 on the sales chart. Just as I was gleefully calculating how much I could put toward my brother's medical bills, Gus called me into his office. "Sam, you're something else," he said, a cigarette dangling from his lips as he squinted at me. "I hear those rich ladies are all asking for you. You're climbing the ladder faster than anyone, huh?" My heart skipped a beat. I quickly put on a humble expression. "Gus, I just want to keep the clients happy." "Happy? What kind of happy? Holding hands? Reciting love poems?" He slammed his hand on the desk, making the ashtray jump. Are you trying to be some top-tier gigolo? You're a server, you don't pull that crap. His yelling made me flinch, and my eyes instantly reddened. Did I not want to be a gigolo? Those guys could make what I earn in a year in a single night with a rich client. But I didn't have the right hardware. All I could do was play to my software strengths, using my quick wit and ability to read people to squeeze a little extra out of the wealthy older women. Gus, I said, dropping to my knees with a thud as I launched into my well-rehearsed sob story. I don't want to. My brother is sick and needs money to live, my dad's a gambler, my mom ran off. I have no other choice. The tears came on command, streaming down my face, making me look as pitiful as possible. A big, tough guy like Gus had a soft spot for this kind of thing. My crying flustered him, and he waved his hand dismissively. All right, man up. A big guy like you shouldn't be crying like this. He lit a cigarette, taking a long drag that shrouded his complicated expression in smoke. From now on, if you need anything, you come to me. Sob. Gus, you're like a father to me. I hugged his leg and cried even harder. Just as we were in the middle of our father-son bonding moment, one of the guys burst in, frantic. Gus, bad news. Victor's crew from the east side is causing trouble in the Imperial Suite. They just assaulted a guest. Gus's face turned grim. Shit. The nerve of those bastards. Wrecking shit on Lewis's turf. He kicked his chair back, grabbed a baseball bat from the corner, and stormed out. A few of his guys followed, grabbing their own weapons, their faces grim. I'd never seen a real-life gang brawl before and my legs turned to jelly. I was about to slip away in the chaos. But a hand grabbed the back of my collar. Don't you go anywhere, kid. Stick close to me. Gus glared at me, pulling me behind him. I had no choice but to tuck my head down and follow him like a terrified quail. The Imperial Suite was already in total chaos. A few punks with bleached hair were standing on tables, shouting. The one in charge was one of Victor's top guys, a thug nicknamed Mad Dog. Lewis ain't shit. Once our boss Victor gets here, Stonehaven will be ours. Smash it. Smash everything. Lewis was the king of Eclipse, and the boss Gus had sworn his life to. Hearing that, Gus's eyes went red. Get M. At his command, his men charged forward like tigers, and the two groups clashed. For a moment, it was a blur of flying bottles and fists, a chorus of curses and cries of pain. I was scared out of my mind, desperately looking for a corner to hide in. Just then, a familiar, sharp pain shot through my lower abdomen. Damn it. Of all the times. My dear Aunt Flo, you really know how to pick your moments. The intense cramps made my vision go black as cold sweat soaked my back. I clutched my stomach, trying to find a corner to squat in. In the chaos, someone's knee slammed hard into my gut. Ugh. I let out a muffled groan, my body collapsing like a broken kite as I fell backward, hitting the floor hard. The sounds of the fight seemed to fade into the distance. A few seconds later, someone let out a blood-curdling scream. Holy shit. Who the fuck kicked Sam in the balls? Instantly, the fighting stopped. The entire room, dozens of pairs of eyes, all swiveled to stare at the crotch of my dark trousers, which was now stained an even darker shade and slowly seeping blood. The air went dead silent. Silence was the theme in the Imperial Suite tonight. You motherfuckers. You wanna play dirty? Gus's eyes were bloodshot as he stared at the bloodstain on my crotch. He was completely enraged. Beat them to a pulp. If anything happens, I'll take the fall. Before I could even process my complete and utter public humiliation, he scooped me up, threw me over his shoulder like a sack of potatoes, and tossed me into a car. To the nearest hospital. Now. Gus roared at the driver before turning to me, his eyes a complex mix of sympathy, guilt, and admiration. Sam, my man. If you hadn't taken that hit for me, that would be me lying here right now. Huh. Dude, What part of that looked like me taking a hit for you? Gus. I'm actually. Don't talk. He cut me off, his tone firm. Don't try to be tough. I saw everything. Your face is pale, you're sweating like you just ran a marathon. No, man, that's just the period cramps. Don't worry, you got this injury for eclipse. From now on, you're my brother. I'll take care of you for life. As he said this, he actually reached for my belt. Let me just see how bad it is, we can't delay treatment. I panicked, grabbing my pants for dear life. No. We're both guys, what's there to be shy about? He said, prying at my hands as if it were the most natural thing in the world. In my desperation, a brilliant idea struck. I clutched my stomach and squeezed out with all my might. Gus. I'm fine. I ate too much dragon fruit earlier. I've got a little bit of the runs. Gus froze. His hand, which had been trying to unbuckle my pants, stopped midair. His gaze on me was now filled with an indescribable, probing curiosity. In the end, I was still taken to the hospital. Gus insisted on waiting with me at the gastroenterology department. Sam, no matter what, you took one for the team today. You get checked out, and we'll cover the medical bills as a workplace injury, he said, patting my shoulder solemnly. I gotta take care of you. As my turn approached, I clutched my fake ID, my palms slick with cold sweat. If I went in there, one checkup and my cover would be blown. I racked my brain and finally came up with a plan. I looked at him with a troubled expression. Gus, could you go to the store outside and buy me a pack of, adult diapers? Gus's eyes widened like saucers. Buy what? You're a grown man, what do you need those for? His voice was already loud, and his shout made the entire waiting room turn to stare at us. It's just. The diarrhea is really bad, I'm afraid I'll contaminate the environment. I explained through gritted teeth, wishing the floor would swallow me whole. I know how this goes, they won't have them in the hospital. You can go buy them for me, and I'll see the doctor on my own. He stared at me suspiciously for a long moment, the questioning look in his eyes deepening. Finally, he left. I seized the opportunity, slipped into a pharmacy, bought a box of painkillers, and swallowed them with some water. Not long after, Gus returned. His cheeks were slightly flushed, and he was carrying a huge black plastic bag bulging with all sorts of adult diapers, a new pair of pants, and even a box of disposable underwear. The big dummy. Beneath that tough guy exterior was a surprisingly considerate heart. I quickly ducked into the restroom, took care of everything, changed into the new pants, and came out with a weak smile. Gus, the doctor said it's nothing serious, just some stomach bug. He gave me some medicine. It won't affect my work. At the mention of work, Gus waved a dismissive hand. Work? Forget about work. Sam, from now on, you're not waiting tables. You're my brother. You'll stick with me, and I'll have your back. Wait, what? Where is this coming from? I just need to work for another 2 months, save up, and then I'm out of here. Who wants to join a gang? I forced a smile that was uglier than a grimace. No way, Gus. I'm not cut out for that life. He slapped me on the back, nearly making me cough up a lung. You're a bit scrawny, kid, but you've got guts. From now on, you're my guy. Let's see who dares to look down on you. He declared, thumping his chest. You know our boss, Lewis? That's my brother. I'm taking you to meet him tonight. My head was spinning. The top floor suite at Eclipse was a forbidden zone for a low-level server like me. Before we went in, Gus was still trying to reassure me. Don't be scared, Sam. You're so sharp, Lewis is gonna love you. How could I not be scared? Lewis. The name was legendary in the Stonehaven underworld. Young, ruthless, and incredibly well-connected. Rumor had it that when he first started, he'd carved out half his territory from Victor's East Side crew with just a knife. The number one rule of training was, at Eclipse, you can piss off a client, you can piss off a manager, but you must never, ever piss off Lewis. If the boss was unhappy, even a passing ant would get squashed. If the boss was happy, you could be that ant and still get a gold bar. In the past month, I had only dared to glance at him from a distance once. He was wearing a black silk shirt, sitting in a dim corner, his profile as sharp as a blade. He radiated a powerful, unapproachable aura. The private room was thick with smoke. A group of well-dressed men and women sat around him, but the atmosphere was tense, as if they were discussing something important. Gus led me in. I followed close behind him, trying to shrink myself and become invisible. "Lewis," Gus said respectfully. The man in the center of the sofa slowly looked up. He didn't get up, just gave a cool his deep eyes sweeping over me like ice-cold daggers, sending a shiver down my spine. Gus sat down next to Lewis, beaming like a big dog that had found its master. I nervously sat down next to Gus, not even daring to breathe. Soon, the manager led in a line of girls, each one a top call girl at Eclipse, a variety of stunning beauties. The other men in the room started picking girls to drink with them. When it was Lewis's turn, he didn't even look up, just coldly uttered 2 words. "Don't want one." Gus immediately echoed him like a parrot. "Don't want one." My brain short-circuited, probably from the tension, and I mumbled. "Want." Instantly, several sharp gazes shot toward me. I flinched and quickly added, "To say no, thank you." Gus shot me a look of pure disappointment, then yanked me up from the sofa and pushed me in front of Lewis. "Lewis, this is my new guy, Sam. Don't let his size fool you, he's loyal as they come. Tonight, when Victor's scum came to cause trouble, this kid took a hit for me. Just got back from the hospital." He nudged me with his elbow. My legs were trembling. "Hi, Lewis." Lewis stared at my buzz cut for a few seconds, his voice unreadable. "A little porcupine. Got guts." My scalp tingled. I forced a laugh. "You're too kind, Lewis." He raised an eyebrow, a smirk playing on his lips. "It's a shame. You don't really live up to the Sam part of your name." Gus quickly tried to smooth things over. "Lewis, don't be fooled by his quiet demeanor, this kid's got skills. He's only been here a month and he's already a top earner. All the rich ladies ask for him by name." He gave me a pointed look. "Sam, what are you waiting for? Show Lewis what you can do." "Oh, okay." Show him what? What could I possibly show him? I racked my brain and remembered my one and only talent, the tarot cards I'd learned to entertain the rich older women. I pulled the well-worn deck from my pocket and said to Lewis with as much feeling as I could muster. "Lewis, how about I read your fortune? See what your love life holds." The moment the words left my mouth, the room fell into another dead silence. Gus's face turned green. He looked like he'd just swallowed a fly. "What the hell is wrong with you? Who cares about his love life? Recite a chapter from Das Kapital for him." I was speechless. "Dude, isn't that even weirder than a tarot reading?" Amidst the bizarre silence and stifled laughter, I saw a complex expression cross Lewis's face. He turned his head and asked Gus, with the look of someone observing a rare zoo animal, "Which mental asylum did you pick him up from?" Gus, looking utterly defeated, yanked me back. "Go pour Lewis a drink." "Oh, okay." Trembling, I picked up the bottle, finally finding a task I couldn't screw up. I carefully poured Lewis a glass of amber whiskey, letting out a silent sigh of relief. Lewis picked up the glass and downed it in one go. But the moment he set the glass down, his expression shifted slightly. He stood up. "Gotta use the restroom." His voice was a little unsteady, and an unnatural flush was creeping up his face. This guy looked like he could drink anyone under the table. How did one glass knock him out? Gus immediately nudged me. What are you waiting for? Go help him. I quickly followed, shakily offering my arm to support him. His body was burning up. The second I touched him, he grabbed me, dragged me into an empty lounge at the end of the hall, and locked the door behind us. With a bang, he slammed me against the cold wall. He gripped my chin, forcing me to look up. His deep-set eyes were now burning with two fiery torches, as if they were about to consume me. Sam, is it? He asked through gritted teeth, enunciating every word. Tell me. Who sent you? This is it. I'm going to die young. I was shaking like a leaf, unable to form a coherent sentence. L. Lewis. I'm sorry. I'm not. I'll confess everything. He stared at me, his gaze as sharp as a hawk's. The stuff in the drink. Did you put it there? I froze. What stuff? I don't know, Lewis. I swear I didn't drug you, wah. I completely broke down, crying and begging for mercy. I'm just a server. Base pay $5,000 plus commission. Where would I get the guts to do something like that? Oh, heavens above, open your eyes and tell the innocent from the guilty. Lewis yanked at the collar of his shirt, revealing a defined collarbone and a solid chest. My eyes drifted down, and my face instantly flushed crimson. Oh my God, he really was drugged. And his reaction was intense. He suddenly reached out and pinned my flailing wrists, his hot breath fanning across my face. Terrified, I struggled wildly. Lewis, I can't. I'm a guy. You. Don't do anything crazy, I'll go get a girl for you. He clenched his jaw, veins popping on his forehead, his voice raspy. Not them. Not them? Then who do you want? I was nearing despair. He stared at me, his Adam's apple bobbing. I instinctively covered my behind. Lewis, I can't. I have stomach problems. I scrambled for the door. I'll take you to the hospital. He yanked me back with surprising strength. Victor's men are out there. If you go out now, you're dead meat. Understand? Then what do we do? I was like a cat on a hot tin roof. He took a step forward, cornering me. His tall frame completely engulfed me. Help me. Our eyes met. The fire in his was about to erupt. My back was flat against the wall, my whole body trembling. Lewis, how can I help you? He lowered his head, his hot breath tickling my ear as he spoke in a tone that was practically an order. The same way you please those rich old ladies. My brain short-circuited. What did I do to please them? His gaze shifted downward, landing on my hands. Ah, right. I was a man. But I had no practical experience. All my knowledge was secondhand. Seeing my hesitation, a mix of disgust and impatience filled his eyes. Then, with a click, he reached out and turned off the lights. In the darkness, my lips suddenly felt a warm pressure. My brain buzzed and went completely blank. The world was spinning. I could barely breathe. I was completely stunned. I could feel his hand starting to unbutton my shirt. And no, Lewis. You. Calm down. I used my last shred of sanity to push him away. Can't I just use my hands? An hour later. My wrist was so sore it felt like it was about to fall off. My voice trembled. Dude. You have insane stamina. When is this going to end? He was biting his lip, breathing heavily, his voice hoarse. Just your hands. It's not enough. I was about to have a breakdown. Then what do you want? I did everything you said, what more could you possibly want? He was silent for a few seconds, then his warm fingers brushed gently against my lips. My entire worldview shattered into a million pieces at that moment. That night, my dreams were filled with R-rated scenes, and I was the unwilling star. When I woke up, I found myself on the lounge sofa, covered by a suit jacket that smelled faintly of tobacco. I was alone. Outside, the sky was bright. I shakily climbed off the sofa, feeling completely drained. The moment I opened the door, I ran right into Gus, who had come looking for me. "Sam, I finally found you," he exclaimed, clapping me on the shoulder. "You really made me proud, kid. Last night, that bastard Victor set a trap for Louis. Louis said if it wasn't for you, he would have fallen right into their hands." His face was flushed with excitement. He leaned in curiously. "Hey, what did you do to help Louis yesterday?" My face turned beet red. I forced myself to answer, "I just lent a hand." The moment I spoke, I realized my voice was dry and hoarse. "Whoa, what happened to your voice?" Gus looked me up and down, a knowing expression on his face. "You sure you just lent a hand? You're too humble, kid. You must have worked pretty hard last night, huh? Look how satisfied you made Louis. You look totally wiped out." I laughed dryly, unable to argue. "I'm just feeling a little under the weather." Gus grabbed my arm without another word. "Come on, I'm taking you to see Louis. He asked for you." I don't want to go." The thought of last night's X-rated scenes made me want to buy a one-way ticket out of Stonehaven and never look back. "What are you scared of?" Gus glared at me, exasperated. "You're a hero at Eclipse now. Louis himself asked for you." In the end, he dragged me to Louis's office. Overnight, Louis had reverted to his intimidating, god of the underworld persona. He sat in his large executive chair, listening to his subordinates' reports with a blank expression. "Louis, we've got it all figured out. That new girl who was serving you last night works for Victor. The drug she put in your drink wasn't ordinary, it's a new hallucinogen from overseas that causes confusion and makes people talk nonsense. The worst part is, the girl is sick. That bastard Victor was trying to kill two birds with one stone and ruin you completely." Louis sat there, his long fingers tapping rhythmically on the desk. He gave a faint acknowledgement. Got it." Gus couldn't help but ask, "Louis, so you were okay yesterday? Sam was the only one with you. Did he take you to the hospital?" At this, Louis looked up, his gaze falling on me. His expression was incredibly complex. He said, a man of few words. My brain began replaying last night's highlights. Every second was torture. "See? I told you this kid was sharp." Gus was practically singing my praises. "Quick-witted, smooth talker, right, Louis?" Louis's gaze swept over my lips, and he grunted again. I stood there, wanting to die. "By the way, Sam," Gus said cheerfully, patting my shoulder. "Starting today, you don't have to wait tables anymore. Louis's orders. You'll be sticking with him from now on." "What?" I was horrified. I quickly tried to refuse. "No way, Gus. I love my job. Waiting tables brings me joy." "Alright, stop pretending," Gus saw right through me. "I know you need the money. You think you'll be worse off with Louis?" Seeing my near tears expression, he sighed and lowered his voice. "Things are tense in the underworld right now. You saw what happened last night. Victor's men are targeting Louis, and since you were with him, they probably have you marked, too. The club is full of strangers right now, it's too dangerous for you to be on your own downstairs." "Wait, what is happening? I just wanted a quiet summer job. How did I go from server to a gang boss's personal aide? I don't want to be with Louis. Can I be with you, Gus?" I pleaded, looking at him with a desperate face. He waved his hand grandly. Don't worry, I'll have your back too. From now on, you and I are Lewis's right and left hands, his two top generals. I was utterly hopeless. I was terrified that on the day my identity was exposed, he'd personally tear off my right and left arms. After that, Gus bustled off to handle other matters, leaving me alone in Lewis's office, feeling like I was sitting on pins and needles. Lewis studied me for a long moment, then suddenly spoke. Gus tells me you're desperate for money? I kept my head down, my voice as soft as a mosquito's buzz. Yeah, my family has some debt. He took a black card from his drawer and pushed it toward me. PIN is 6/8. Use it to pay off the debt. From now on, if you need anything, just charge it. He paused, clearing his throat with a hint of awkwardness before adding, about last night. I immediately stood at attention, raising my hand to swear an oath. Last night was a complete accident. I will never say a word about it to anyone. He gave a slight nod, his expression seeming to relax a little. Good. Then he added another warning. And, I'm not into men. Don't get any funny ideas. I almost dropped to my knees, raising my hands in surrender. I absolutely will not. Don't worry, Lewis, I'm as straight as they come. He frowned slightly, seeming unconvinced. Gus seems to have taken a liking to you. I nodded eagerly, forcing a sycophantic smile. Yeah, Gus is a great guy. He treats me like a real brother. His expression finally softened. Good. I stood there, completely baffled. I really couldn't keep up with this guy's train of thought. And just like that, I was inexplicably promoted from a lowly server to the boss's personal aide. The other servers who used to call me String Bean now had to respectfully call me Sam. The female employees who used to sneer at me for stealing their rich clients now bowed and scraped. Of course, there was no shortage of gossip behind my back. Look at him, so full of himself. Just a pretty boy. Who knows how he managed to get on both Gus's and Lewis's good side? How else? Look at how frail he is. He probably used some shady methods to climb the ladder. For God's sake, I never thought I'd live to see the day I'd be the subject of these kinds of rumors as a man. I sighed dramatically in front of Lewis. Lewis was reading a document and got annoyed by my sighs. He turned my head toward him. What, is it so bad working for me? Who are you putting on that long face for? It's not that. I pouted. People are gossiping about me. Who? Just employees at the club. Fired, he said without looking up. Huh. I didn't get it at first. He's my guy. No one else gets to talk shit about him, Lewis said, glancing at me impatiently. From now on, handle this small stuff yourself. Don't bother me with it. Yes, sir. My mood instantly brightened. The two gossips were fired that same day. As they were leaving, they pointed at me and yelled, "What are you so proud of? You're just Lewis's dog." The boss must have thought my faded t-shirt was too shabby, because he tossed me a card and told me to get some new clothes. When I nervously checked the balance at an ATM and saw a 7-figure number, I suddenly got it. What's wrong with being a dog? It's way better than being a workhorse. I immediately rushed to the nearest mall and headed straight for the luxury boutiques. But instead of clothes, I bought myself the shiniest gold watch and the thickest gold chain I could find. This stuff was as good as cash. In a pinch, it could save my life. When I showed up in front of Lewis wearing a 200-gram gold chain and a diamond-encrusted watch, he was having a meal. He looked up, and his brow furrowed. "Isn't that thing choking you? Where'd you get that dog chain?" Not at all, not at all. I stood up straight, feeling like I had a spring in my step. Who knows this feeling of getting rich overnight? It's the best. Lewis frowned but didn't say anything more. He just silently pushed my favorite sweet and sour pork ribs in front of me. Gold chains, gold watches, and barbecue 3 times a day. Life was finally looking up. I quickly got into character and started acting as the boss's personal shrimp peeler. Louis ate slowly and didn't drink. Gus had told me he was a terrible lightweight, so he usually avoided alcohol. At the table, an undercover mole from their rival Victor's crew was reporting to him. "Louis, Victor has a shipment coming in from overseas next month. The cops are already onto it. The guy in charge of the handoff is Victor's second-in-command, Horace, the lecher. The guy's a total degenerate, especially into innocent-looking college girls. He's meeting his contact tonight at Summit Springs Lodge. We can use this opportunity to..." Louis nodded but said nothing. I sat there, completely lost, with only one thought in my head: this gangster stuff is too complicated. I need to find a way to get out of here before I get myself killed. Halfway through the meal, I needed to use the restroom. The men's room entrance. I was about to go in when a hand clamped down on my shoulder from behind. A large hand spun me around and pushed me toward the adjacent door. "Wrong one. The ladies' room is over there." I looked up and met a pair of smiling eyes. Oh God, it was Louis. What was he doing here? "Boss. You came to use the restroom yourself?" I said, just to say something. He gave me a look like I was an idiot. What else? Should I send someone to do it for me? Men's room, in front of a row of urinals. I stood next to Louis, completely rigid, not knowing where to look. He calmly unbuckled his belt and glanced at me. "Well? Not gonna take it out?" A playful smirk touched his lips. "What's the matter? Too small to show off?" I was sweating bullets. "Boss, I think I need to take a dump." With that, I scrambled into the farthest stall and locked the door. I didn't forget to shout, "Boss, you don't have to wait for me." Duh, Louis's voice came from outside, filled with undisguised contempt. "Why would I wait for you? Are we two grown men supposed to hold hands while we piss?" I said nothing. Only after I heard the sound of a flush and his footsteps fading away did I dare to cautiously take care of business. The heavy gold chain around my neck was digging into my skin. A sweet burden, really. I took it off and carefully tucked it into my pocket. Don't flash your wealth. Keep a low profile. After dinner, the group drove straight to Summit Springs Lodge, the place the mole had mentioned. When we arrived, Gus was already there waiting with a few guys. I was finally starting to piece together the whole story. Apparently, Louis had done a few years in prison when he was younger. After he got out, he worked for Victor's father. But once he got powerful enough, he broke off with his own crew, which created a lasting feud with Victor. In recent years, Louis's business had grown, making him a major player in Stonehaven's underworld. This made Victor hate him even more, and he tried to sabotage Louis at every turn. To expand his own power quickly, Victor had started dealing in some shady business, making a fortune. This particular deal was crucial for him. If it succeeded, his power in Stonehaven would be unmatched, and the first person he'd want to eliminate would be Louis. So, tonight, they had to start by taking down his second-in-command, Horace. Horace was drinking in a private club on the top floor of the lodge, while our group blended in with the crowd in the public hot springs on the first floor, waiting for the right moment. "Louis, it's all set. The girls with Horace are our people." "Don't worry," one of the guys reported. Louis was leaning against a rock in the hot spring pool, his eyes closed, just giving a soft He was only wearing swim trunks. The lighting had been dim that other night, but now I could see. His body was incredible. His arms were powerfully muscled. A few old scars ran across his broad back, adding to his wild look. Water droplets traced a path down his chiseled V-lines, finally disappearing into. I was staring, my mouth dry. Until someone called out to me, "Hey, Sam, why don't you get in? The water feels great." I snapped back to reality, quickly averting my improper gaze and waving my hands. I I'm not feeling up to it today. What's wrong, Sam? You got your man period? One of the guys joked. I gritted my teeth and pulled out my all-purpose excuse again. No. Stomach's acting up. Don't want to pollute the water. A wave of laughter erupted. I was so embarrassed I could have dug a 3-bedroom apartment in the floor with my toes. I was about to make a run for it. I didn't notice that Louis had gotten out of the pool. I took a step and walked right into him. His body was hot, his muscles firm and springy. The impact made my head spin. My face flushed, and before I could apologize, he suddenly reached out and gave my chest a light squeeze. My brain buzzed. I nearly died on the spot. I instinctively clutched my chest, feeling like my life was over. But he just looked at me with a bewildered, almost approving expression. You're skinny as a monkey, but you've got some solid pecs. Ha. Ha. Just. Born with them. I forced a smile that was uglier than a grimace, my back already drenched in cold sweat. Yeah, one of the guys chimed in. And Sam's got a great ass, too. Better than most girls. I was speechless. Gus looked over, his eyes landing on my rolled-up pant legs. Sam, you like white socks, huh? With cartoons on them, too. I didn't think much of it. Yep. What's wrong with white socks? Can't a guy have a little fun? Just then, the mole from earlier ran over, looking panicked. Louis. There's a problem upstairs. We all rushed to the top floor club. As we reached the door, we could hear Horace yelling inside. I wanted an innocent girl. Do you know what an innocent girl is? Look at these ones. They've got more mileage on them than I do. You call this young? I want pure. Pure and sexy. You get me? Hurry up and find me another one. Otherwise, this deal is off. We all looked at each other. In the middle of nowhere, where were we supposed to find him a pure and sexy innocent girl on such short notice? After a long silence, someone, in a moment of sheer genius or insanity, weakly suggested. I think we could have Sam give it a try. Look at him, with his smooth skin and perfect teeth. Put a wig and a dress on him, he'll look more innocent than the real thing. Wait, what? I couldn't believe my ears. No, guys, I can't. Gus walked over, clapped me heavily on the shoulder, and said with grave importance. Sam, for the good of the team, you have to make this sacrifice. Don't worry, you'll be great. Now go get changed. What is happening? A million wild horses were stampeding through my mind, but seeing Louis's non-negotiable glare, I had no choice but to let them push me into the changing room. They handed me a white pleated skirt and a long, straight black wig. When I came out, nervously fidgeting, the entire hallway went silent. Holy shit. Sam, being a man has been a total waste for you. Damn. That's a masterpiece. A true innocent flower. Right, Louis? Louis's deep eyes were fixed on me. He stared for a long time before letting out a soft ahem. Someone nudged Gus. Hey, Gus, you're drooling. Gus snapped out of his trance, a faint blush on his face. He cleared his throat and gave me my mission briefing. Sam. Precious. Listen up. When you go in, get him to drink this. We've spiked it. Once he drinks it, he'll pass out. He has a burner phone in the inside pocket of his jacket. That's our target. Get the phone and get out immediately. Got it? Don't screw this up. I nodded with a pained expression, silently cursing my fate. What did I do to deserve this? How did I get roped into this mess? Horace, at least, was easy to handle. He was a true lecherous pig. When I walked in, he was already half drunk. The moment he saw me, his eyes lit up like a wolf seeing a lamb. This one's good. Now that's what I call an innocent girl. You can tell she's brand new. He reached out with his greasy paw to grab me. I skillfully dodged him, put on my best high-pitched voice, and cooed, "Boss, don't be in such a hurry. Let me have a drink with you first, okay?" I handed him the spiked, high-proof liquor. Okay, I'll drink with you." He grinned, his face wrinkling. "What's your name, beautiful?" "Boss, you can call me Mimi." "Great name. It suits you. So cute. What made a girl like you get into this line of work?" "My dad's a gambling addict, my mom's seriously ill, and my little brother's still in school. I had no choice." I launched into my sob story script again. "Oh, you poor thing." After a bit of back and forth, he quickly succumbed to the alcohol and passed out on the sofa. I quickly blocked the security camera's view, slipped my hand into his inner jacket pocket, found the burner phone, and made a swift exit. My heart was pounding the whole time, but thankfully, it all went off without a hitch. I had just stepped out of the room, not even having a chance to breathe a sigh of relief, when I slammed into someone. The person grabbed my wig and started screaming at me. "You little bitch. I finally caught you. Instead of staying home, you run off to a place like this to sell yourself. You've completely disgraced me." I jerked my head up. When I saw who it was, my blood ran cold. It was my worthless piece of scum father, Frank. What was he doing here? "What are you standing there for? Come home with me," he snarled, reaching for my arm. "Sam, who's this?" one of the guys asked, confused. I instantly realized Frank's presence would blow my cover. In a moment of desperation, I steeled myself and, with all my strength, slapped him across the face. "You dare hit me?" Frank was stunned for a moment. When he recovered, he swung back, slapping me so hard I saw stars. "You worthless piece of trash. You think you've got wings now?" he roared, his face contorted with rage. "I'm telling you, you're not getting away. You owe me, and you'll spend the rest of your life paying me back. You." Not far away, Louis and Gus had heard the commotion and were heading over. My heart was pounding. I didn't have time to think. I immediately ordered the guys next to me. "Grab him. Gag him. Now." By the time Louis arrived, Frank was being held down by two of the guys, muffled sounds coming from his mouth. "What's going on?" Louis asked, frowning. The club manager rushed over, bowing and scraping. "Louis, this guy was gambling downstairs. He lost big and tried to skip out on his debt, but our guys caught him." Just then, a few casino enforcers ran up. "Frank, you old bastard, when are you going to pay what you owe?" Louis turned his head, his sharp gaze fixed on me. "You know him?" I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself, but my voice still trembled. "He's my father." Saying the word felt like swallowing a million flies. "He's beaten me since I was a child. He beat my mom until she couldn't take it anymore and ran away. Then he remarried. He's drowning in gambling debt, and to get money, he was going to sell me to a 50-year-old man." Louis's frown deepened. "Then he deserves to die." He looked at the clear handprint on my cheek, then nodded at me. "Hit him back." "Huh?" I was a little slow to react. He repeated himself, his tone leaving no room for argument. "He hit you. You hit him back, twice as hard." I stood in front of Frank, looking at his pathetic, hateful face. The dark memories of being beaten, verbally abused, and locked in a dark room flooded back. When he was drunk, he'd whip me with his belt, burn me with cigarettes. He stole the only thing my mom left me, a silver necklace, and sold it for gambling money. He was going to sell me to pay for his stepson's wedding gift. I raised my hand and, with all my strength, slapped him again and again, tears streaming down my face uncontrollably. After what felt like an eternity, my hand went numb. A warm, large hand gently rested on my head. "Does your hand hurt?" Lewis's voice was soft. He took a rubber baton from one of his men and handed it to me. "Use this." He raised his hand and gently wiped the tears from my face, adding, "Just leave him breathing. If anything happens, I'll handle it." The ride back was quiet. It took a long time for my emotions to settle. Gus patted my shoulder. "See, Sam? I told you Lewis looks out for his own. With him watching your back, no one will dare bully you again." I was still shaken. Frank was like a piece of gum stuck to my shoe. If he showed up again, my secret would be out for good. "Gus, that Frank. Is he going to show up again?" Gus's eyebrows shot up. "He'd dare. After messing with Lewis, he won't be setting foot in Stonehaven for the rest of his life." "Good, that's good." I couldn't help but think back to how Lewis had stood up for me, and a strange warmth spread through my chest. I also found myself more and more curious about him. I cautiously asked Gus, "Gus, I heard that Lewis killed someone. Is that true?" Gus paused for a moment, then nodded. "Yeah." My heart jumped. Who? Who did he kill?" "His own father." Gus sighed and lowered his voice. "Back in the day, his old man was a drunk and a gambler, too. He'd get drunk and beat Lewis's mom. One time, he beat her so bad he broke her ribs. Lewis was only 16 at the time. He snapped, grabbed a kitchen knife, and stabbed the bastard." My heart ached hearing this. I couldn't help but shiver. So his childhood, like mine, was filled with darkness and violence. He was only 16, still a minor. I think he was convicted of excessive self-defense and got 5 years. His family was poor, couldn't afford a lawyer. So he spent his time in jail studying law books thicker than bricks, represented himself in his appeal, and got his sentence reduced to 3 years. Gus said Lewis was a brilliant student, always at the top of his class. If it hadn't been for that, he would have gone to the best university. He might have been a scientist or a professor by now. I was stunned. In all those dark years, how did he manage to fight his way out of despair and get to where he is today? What about Lewis's mom? Gus sighed. "She died of cancer a few years ago." He then added, "Don't you go telling anyone else about this. I'm only telling you because I see you as one of us." I nodded heavily. "I know, Gus." The car fell silent again. After a while, Gus, looking like he'd been holding it in for a while, scratched his tattooed arm and looked at me awkwardly. "Sam, what? What do you think of me as a person?" I was taken aback by the sudden question, but I quickly smiled and replied, "You're great. Gus, you're loyal and generous, the most stand-up guy I've ever met." Gus beamed. "Heh, you're pretty great too." Another moment of silence. He rubbed his hands together, his gaze shifting around. "Sam, why don't you move out and live with me?" "Huh?" I was completely bewildered. He quickly explained, "I don't mean it like that. I just think that employee dorm you're in is small and run down. The conditions are terrible." I immediately refused. No. Gus, I'm fine where I am." "Are you kidding me? I'm getting out of here in a month. I couldn't afford any more complications." Speaking of which, I was the only one living in the employee dorm. Most of the staff were locals who went home after their shifts. I had a room to myself, which was quiet and peaceful. Back at the dorm, I took off the dress and realized I had accidentally brought the white pleated skirt back with me. It was a pretty nice brand, good material. It seemed a waste to throw it out. An idea struck me. I took a picture and posted it on an online marketplace. Turning trash into treasure and making a little extra cash. I was a genius. As the date of Victor's deal approached, I grew more and more anxious, terrified that I would lose my life in the middle of some gang war. I had to find an excuse to get out of there. Fast. I was trying to decide whether to say my second aunt's third nephew was getting married or that some distant relative I'd never met had passed away. But Louis found me first. Stay out of the operation next week. I was surprised and blurted out, "Why? Is it going to be dangerous, boss?" He didn't answer my question. Instead, he raised a hand and gently stroked my head. He seemed to like touching my buzz cut. My hair had started to grow out a little, becoming prickly to the touch. He looked down at me, his deep eyes filled with a complex emotion I couldn't decipher. "Don't shave it again." After a pause, he added, "You'd probably look good with long hair." I stood before him, meeting his intense gaze, my heart thumping wildly against my ribs. I collected myself and cautiously ventured, "Boss, my aunt's birthday is next week. She lives out of town. I was wondering if I could take a few days off to go see her." He stared at me for a long time, so long that I thought he was about to call my bluff. But in the end, he just nodded. "Yeah. Go if you want to." He turned and walked away, leaving me with the sight of his tall, lonely back. I was surprised. Deep down, I felt a strange, unexplainable sense of disappointment. I watched him go, my mind drifting back to that night at Summit Springs Lodge. He had touched my head and asked if my hand hurt. He had handed me the rubber baton and said, "Just leave him breathing. I'll handle it." Looking back, these short 3 months had been the most stable and human I had felt in my entire 18 years. A few days after Louis left, the situation in Stonehaven changed overnight. That night, police sirens wailed across the city, echoing for what felt like an eternity. My heart pounded in my chest. I paced around the club like a headless chicken before deciding to rush back to my dorm, pack my things, and run. But I had barely stepped out of Eclipse when 2 dark figures darted out of an alley. "That's him. Quick. Grab him." One of them lunged at me, grabbing my arm tightly. I struggled desperately, and in a panic, I bit down hard on his hand. "You little bastard, you dare bite me!" He yelped in pain. The other man saw this and kicked at me. I was ready for it. I aimed a swift, hard kick right back at his weak spot. The man crumpled to the ground, letting out a howl like a dying pig. I took the chance to break free from the first man's grip, but his accomplice quickly pulled a gleaming dagger from his pocket. My mind went blank with fear. But the instinct to survive kicked in. I couldn't die. I had fought so hard to escape that hellish home. I hadn't gone to college yet, hadn't seen my brother recover. I had to live. As the man lunged at me with the knife, I stumbled back, desperately looking for anything to defend myself with. In my desperation, my hand brushed against the heavy gold chain in my pocket. Almost instinctively, I whipped it out, swung it in a wide arc, and started flailing wildly at him. He clearly hadn't expected this. The dagger flew out of his hand. Yes. Emboldened, I went for his face, unleashing a flurry of blows. "You wanna grab me? You wanna kill me? I'll whip your ass." He stumbled back, shielding his head and crying out in pain. I was terrified, but I didn't dare stop. I looped the chain around his neck and pulled with all my might. I was so scared, trembling all over, but I couldn't let go. What if I strangled him to death? Would I go to jail? But if I let go, what if he picked up the knife and killed me? My life had just begun. And so, a bizarre scene unfolded. I was strangling him with all my might while simultaneously sobbing my heart out. After what felt like an eternity, just as my strength was about to give out, the man in my grasp was suddenly kicked to the ground, where he lay unconscious. I looked up and met Louis's bloodshot eyes. Louis. In that moment, he was my god. I scrambled into his arms, clinging to his waist and sobbing uncontrollably. "Louis, you're finally here." "Wah. I thought I was never going to see you again." On the way back, I clung to Louis's arm, crying like a 200-pound baby. Louis sighed, exasperated, and stroked my head. It's okay. You're safe now. Stop crying like a. He stopped himself, then said gruffly, just stop crying. I sniffled and looked up at him, only then noticing the thick bandage on his left arm, seeping with blood. My heart clenched. You're hurt? It's a scratch. I'm fine. He turned to me, his voice low and raspy. Why haven't you left yet? I looked down. I was just about to. He looked out the window at the passing streetlights, silent for a long moment before finally speaking. Yeah. Go. I had just gotten back to my dorm. My phone pinged. It was a message from the online marketplace. Hi, is the pleated skirt still available? Could you send a picture of you wearing it so I can see how it fits? I figured since I was leaving anyway, what was the harm? I found the skirt, put it on, and snapped a picture in the mirror to send. Right after I sent it, there was a knock on the door. I assumed it was the landlady coming to collect the utility bills, so I didn't think twice and went to open the door, still wearing the skirt. The moment the door opened, I saw Gus's face, a mask of pure shock and disbelief. Gee, Gus. What? What are you doing here? I froze, my mind a complete blank. Louis said you were taking time off. I came to check on you. His dazed eyes went from my face to the skirt I was wearing. Oh. My cousin is getting married. I'm trying on the bridesmaid dress, I explained awkwardly. It's actually kind of cute. Gus's eyes were glued to me. After a long moment, he finally managed to speak. Yeah. It is kind of cute. Then, he suddenly grabbed my wrist. Sam, there's something I've been wanting to tell you for a long time. A wave of panic washed over me. I had a very bad feeling about this. Actually, I'm like you. I know your secret. I was stunned. How could he know? But it's okay. I don't mind. I'll help you keep it a secret because I really like you. As he said this, a shy, bashful look crossed his face. My world was spinning. How did you know I'm a girl? I asked automatically. Gus froze, seemingly processing my words. After a few seconds, his eyes widened in shock. Holy shit. You're a girl. How can you be a girl? Holy fucking shit. You're a goddamn girl. The next second, he tackled me to the ground and screamed into his walkie-talkie with a voice that shook the heavens. Boss. We have a traitor in our midst. There's a mole. I was tied up like a prisoner and dragged before Louis. He wasn't as shocked as Gus. He just sat on the sofa, his cold, scrutinizing gaze fixed on me. Spit it out. Who sent you? I was already paralyzed with fear, sobbing my eyes out. No one sent me. Wah. Louis, I swear I'm not a mole. I just wanted to earn some money for my brother's treatment, but you guys only hire men. Wah. I swear on my life, other than secretly collecting a few bottle caps to sell, I haven't done anything wrong. His face was blank. He lazily lifted his eyelids. What's your name? Ava. ID. He held out his hand. I tremblingly pulled the crumpled ID from my pocket and handed it to him. He glanced at it, frowning. What's this name? That's the name my deadbeat dad gave me. My mom named me Ava, I swear. I quickly explained. His piercing gaze bored into me, as if trying to see through my soul. Do you know what happens to people who lie to me? Louis, I'm sorry. I couldn't hold it together anymore. I grabbed his leg and started bawling. He spoke slowly. I'll give you two choices. 1, you die. I was so scared I thought my soul would leave my body. I choose 2. Louis, I'll take option 2. A smirk played on his lips. I haven't told you what 2 is yet. I looked at him with pleading eyes, showering him with every compliment I could think of. Louis, you're so handsome and dashing, you must have a kind heart. You'll let me live, right? And don't you remember, that night you were drugged, it was me. I used my mouth. Just mentioning it made my face burn. But to save my own life, I couldn't afford to be embarrassed. At the very least, I had saved his life that night. He nodded, then offered a deadpan review. Yeah. You were terrible at it. He looked down at me, seeming to consider for a moment before speaking slowly. In that case, option 2 is you stay by my side. Be my little canary. When you've managed to please me, then I'll consider letting you go. He reached out and poked my buzz cut. Think about it. And with that, he turned and left without a backward glance. Gus was still standing there. He stared at me, his eyes trying to piece back together his shattered heart. I glanced at him, sighed, and offered a kind reminder. Gus, give it up. It's never going to happen between us. He instantly blew a fuse. Of course I've given up. I like femboys, not actual girls. I was born gay, and you're not gonna turn me straight. Oh, sorry. I said. I started playing the victim again. Gus, I still have to go back to college. Forget it, Gus cut me off mercilessly. You played Louis for a fool, and you think you can just run away? He warned me, you'd better behave yourself and stay by Louis's side. Don't do anything stupid. Then, with a look that said, you lucky bastard, he tried to console me. What's so great about college? These days, college grads are fighting to work like dogs for $5,000 a month. The boss is helping you skip 4 years of struggle and go straight to the top. Keep Louis happy, and soon enough, I'll be calling you the missus. That very night, I was sent to one of Louis's villas overlooking the river. The moment he returned, I rushed up to him, pledging my loyalty. Louis, I've thought it over. I'll stick with you from now on, be your loyal servant, no second thoughts. He narrowed his eyes, a hint of suspicion in them. Not running away? No. Absolutely not. I shook my head like a bobblehead. To make it more convincing, I stood on my tiptoes, wrapped my arms around his neck, and kissed him. Louis, you're so handsome, so rich. I've been secretly in love with you for ages. Being with you is the best thing that's ever happened to me. He stared at me, a half smile on his face. Is that so? Truer than gold. To prove my determination, I went all in. I had intended it to be a light peck, but he took control, one hand cupping the back of my head, the other wrapping around my waist, pulling me tightly against him. The kiss was overwhelming and intense, filled with an undeniable, predatory energy. I was caught off guard, kissed until I was dizzy and breathless, my face flushed. Louis. I'm a little nervous. I trembled, grabbing his arm for support. Can I have a drink to build up some courage? He lifted me with one arm as if I were a child and placed me on the bar counter. He gestured to the wall of liquor behind him. Pick your poison. I deliberately chose a bottle of what looked like the strongest spirit. I remembered very clearly what Gus had said, Louis was a terrible lightweight. I took a large swig, then turned, pressed my lips to his, and passed the fiery liquid into his mouth. Like how I serve you drinks, boss? I cooed, batting my eyelashes like a seasoned seductress. He let out a low chuckle, his voice dangerously hoarse. Love it. His smile widened. He seemed to be genuinely enjoying the game. After a few more rounds, most of the bottle was gone. Finally, he succumbed, his tall frame swaying before he collapsed onto the soft bed. Boss. More? Louis? I tentatively poked his abs. Drunk? Feeling bolder, I gave his firm chest a sly pinch. He just frowned slightly, showing no other reaction. I secretly rejoiced, confirming that he was completely out. I took the black card he'd given me from his pocket and placed it back in his hand. It was too much money. I was afraid I'd be charged with grand larceny if he called the cops. I stood up and looked back at him. In the soft light, his sleeping face had lost its usual cold, hard edge. He looked almost vulnerable. A sudden wave of reluctance washed over me. I walked over, bent down, and gently hugged him. "Louis, thank you. The little warmth I've known in my life. It all came from you. But I don't belong here. I have to fly away. From now on, you should obey the law. No more fighting. Don't get hurt again." Just as I was about to get up, the arm around my waist tightened. I jumped, thinking he was awake. But he had only unconsciously pulled me closer in his sleep. I carefully pulled the blanket over him. Then I turned, opened the door without looking back, hailed a taxi, and headed straight for the train station, boarding a southbound train that night. Gus looked at the man drinking alone and couldn't understand. "Louis, she's gone. Why aren't you sending people after her? What is this, some kind of tragic romance novel?" Louis swirled the liquor in his glass, staring out at the dark night for a long time before finally speaking. "Let it go. She's not from our world. No matter how pretty the cage, you can't keep a bird that wants to fly." Gus scratched his head, unable to contain his curiosity. "Boss, be honest. Did you know she was a girl all along?" Louis didn't answer, just downed the rest of his drink. The fiery liquid burned his throat, but his mind drifted back to a few days ago, when he stood alone in a dilapidated old alley. A few old women were gossiping at the entrance. "You mean the Sioux family's girl? Oh, that poor child. Never had a good day in her life. Her real mom ran off, the stepmom treated her like dirt, and that Frank is a real bastard. Drank and took it all out on her. Then he got into a huge gambling debt and was going to sell her to some old crippled guy from the next village for wedding money. I heard he locked her in the attic, but the girl climbed out of that tiny window and ran away. Never came back. Good for her. A place like that would have ruined her. I heard she was a great student, got into a top university down south." Louis looked up at the small, rusty window. He could almost see the skinny girl who must have clung to it countless times, staring at the sky outside, desperately wanting to escape this swamp. Later, after some searching, he finally found the home she had once rented in a soon-to-be-demolished apartment building. It was less a home and more a kennel. A rat would need a GPS to navigate the place. It was tiny, damp, and dark, with no windows, only a wobbly iron frame bed and a battered desk. The walls were covered in mildew, and a persistent musty smell hung in the air. Only the small, pink floral bedsheet on the bed stood in stark contrast to its surroundings, a stubborn remnant of a girl's softness. On the old desk lay a thick, dog-eared notebook. He opened it. Inside were pages filled with neat, forceful handwriting. "My name is not what he calls me. My name is Ava. Mom got hit again today. She said life is too hard. But I don't want to die. I want to live. I want to take her with me when I escape. My teacher said if I get into college, I can fly away from this place. I have to get into college. I have to. Mom said she'll become a star in the sky to watch over me. Whenever it hurts, I just have to look at the stars, and it won't hurt anymore. Ava, don't cry. Mom is watching from heaven, she'll be sad. Mom, it hurts so much. Can you come down and hold me? Just for a second. Dad stole the silver necklace Mom left me. I will get it back." He stared at the yellowed pages, as if he could see the lonely little girl who, on countless dark nights, had cried while stubbornly straightening her back, fighting her way through the mud. He also saw a glimpse of his younger self. Back then, he too had desperately wanted to fly out of that confined world. But he hadn't been as lucky as her. His life was destined to be spent wallowing in the muck. He wasn't letting her go. He was, on that rainy night, saving the helpless, weak little boy from years ago who had desperately yearned for the light. Go, Ava. Fly as far as you can. On the speeding train, the carriage was noisy, filled with the mixed smell of instant noodles and sweat. I stared blankly out the window at the passing scenery, my heart feeling empty. My hand idly slipped into my pocket, and my fingertips touched something hard with a chain. I paused, then pulled it out. It was a simple but elegant silver necklace with a small star-shaped pendant. It was the one my mom had left me. Wrapped around the necklace was a bank card. I looked at the mountains and fields flying by outside the window, my nose tingling. Tears I could no longer hold back streamed down my face. Goodbye, Louis. And thank you. 4 years later, Stonehaven. In the final semester of my senior year, everyone was scrambling for an internship offer. In today's job market, master's degrees were a dime a dozen, and bachelor's degrees were barely worth the paper they were printed on. Luckily, a senior from my department threw me a lifeline, referring me for an internship at the top architectural design firm where he worked. Apex Designs. Intern. $5,000 a month, occasional overtime, and free lunch. You in? In. Definitely in. I would have done it for $2,000. Just getting a chance to burnish my resume at a big-name firm like this was a huge blessing. $5,000 a month with no commission, and I worked harder than I ever did at Eclipse. What can I say? Life had ground down all my sharp edges. I planned to work hard, do my best, and hopefully land a full-time position. But my department director was a greasy, balding middle-aged man who kept accidentally touching me and making inappropriate comments. To save me, my senior colleague stepped up and told everyone I was his girlfriend. The greasy director finally backed off a bit. A few days later, a rumor spread through the company. The group's mysterious big boss was coming for an inspection. They said he was very young but had a powerful, enigmatic background. He was a major player in the international capital markets, a name that struck fear even on Wall Street. Everyone was curious to see this legendary, elusive tycoon. That day, I was at my desk, deep in concentration, doodling cartoon characters with my CAD software. A sudden commotion broke out in the office. Look! The big boss is here. Oh my God, he's so handsome. That presence, that face. He could be a movie star. A group of company executives swarmed around a man in a bespoke suit, making their way through the office. I instinctively looked up. When I saw the all-too-familiar face, my mind went blank. The mouse slipped from my hand and clattered to the floor. For years. The man before me had shed his rough, gangsterish aura. The perfectly tailored suit accentuated his tall, lean frame. He exuded an air of cool, aristocratic abstinence, yet his presence was still as intimidating as ever. While I was frozen in shock, the HR director had already led him to my desk, fawning over him. Mr. Lewis, this is our new intern, Ava. She's Jack's junior from college, and also his girlfriend. His gaze swept over me coolly, and then he spoke, slowly and deliberately. Looks sharp enough. Transfer her to the executive office. I'll need her for a few days. I subconsciously touched my now waist-long hair. This is it. I'm screwed. Just as he was about to turn and leave, I shot up from my chair and made a break for the emergency exit. But I only got 2 steps before the back of my collar was yanked. A large hand gently lifted a strand of my hair and brought it to his nose. Ava, where are you running? A low, dangerous voice came from above me, laced with a playful smirk. The little canary I raised for 4 years. Her wings got strong, and she flew away. Do you know what I've been thinking about every day for these past 4 years? He leaned close to my ear, his hot breath on my neck, his voice thick with an undisguised, crazed possessiveness. I've been thinking that when I catch her, I'm going to break her wings, feather by feather, and lock her in a cage so she can never, ever fly away again. So, he gently bit my earlobe. Where should we start settling the score? I was done for. That was the only thought in my head. I felt like a cat who'd been out on the town for 4 years, only to come home and find the owner hadn't changed the locks and had, in fact, sharpened his knives. Dozens of eyes in the office turned on me like spotlights, a mixture of shock, curiosity, and mostly, gleeful anticipation of the drama to come. The balding director's jaw nearly hit the floor. He pointed at me, then at Lewis, unable to form a complete sentence. Jack, clearly spooked by the scene, still managed to summon his courage. He stepped forward, shielding me. Mr. Lewis, what is the meaning of this? Ava. She's my girlfriend. Lewis didn't even raise an eyelid. His gaze remained pinned on me like poisoned nails. He let out a soft chuckle, laced with chilling amusement. Your girlfriend? He finally tore his eyes from my face and landed them on Jack. He looked at him like one might look at a suicidal bug. Did she tell you that herself? Jack was sweating bullets under his stare but still managed a stiff nod. I wanted to die right there. Bro, don't do it, you're no match for him. Lewis ignored him, slowly unbuttoning the top button of his suit jacket as he walked toward me, step by step. The pressure was 100 times more intense than that day in the bathroom stall. Ava, he said my name, his voice quiet but cold enough to drop the temperature in the entire office. You tell him who I am. My lips trembled. My mind was a blank slate. What could I say? That this was my ex-boyfriend, a former gangster I'd slept with and ghosted 4 years ago, who had now gone legit and bought the company? When I didn't speak, he reached out and, in front of everyone, gently pinched my chin as if plucking a delicate flower petal. 4 years, and you've gotten bold. Learn to find yourself a boyfriend? Jack grew frantic. Mr. Lewis. Please have some respect. Lewis had finally lost his patience. Without turning his head, he bit out 2 words. Get out. Though just 2 words, they carried the weight of a command. The office staff scattered like they'd been granted amnesty, the balding director running faster than anyone. Jack still looked like he wanted to argue, but one withering glance from Lewis sent him retreating reluctantly. The moment the door closed, he yanked me forward and slammed me down onto the cold surface of a desk. Run, he leaned over me, his arms caging me in, trapping me completely in his shadow. Why aren't you running now? I wasn't. Tears welled in my eyes. Lewis. We're even. I gave you the card back, I don't owe you anything. Even? He laughed as if he'd just heard the world's greatest joke, the sound vibrating from his chest. Ava, you slept with me, stole my heart, and then skipped town. And now you're telling me we're even? He gripped my chin, forcing me to look at him. His bottomless eyes swirled with a crazy, obsessive emotion I couldn't comprehend. You think what's between us can be settled with money? Then what do you want? I asked, my face a tear-streaked mess. I don't want anything. He suddenly ducked his head, his hot lips almost touching mine. I'm just here to keep my promise. To catch you, and then. His fingers traced a path down my long hair, inch by inch, finally stopping at my shoulder, as if measuring the wingspan of a butterfly. To break your wings. One by one. The words had barely left his mouth when a fierce, burning kiss crashed down on me. There was no tenderness, only 4 years of accumulated, crazed longing and punishing possession. He kissed me until I was dizzy and weak, until all I could do was cling helplessly to his shoulders and let him take whatever he wanted. After what felt like an eternity, he finally eased his hold, his forehead resting against mine. His breathing was heavy, his voice impossibly hoarse. Still going to run? I looked at him through tear-filled eyes and shook my head frantically. And no. Not running. Good girl. He finally smiled, a satisfied, predatory grin, like a beast that had at last captured its prey. This time, it seemed. There was truly nowhere left for me to run. Epilogue. 1 year later. My brother, Danny, got into the best university in Stonehaven on a full national scholarship. I went to visit him on campus, tailed by my inescapable bodyguard, Louis. Louis had completely transitioned into a legitimate businessman. Under his leadership, Apex Designs had become the undisputed leader in its industry. Even the old underworld figures had to respectfully call him Mr. Louis now. Danny wasn't the least bit intimidated by Louis. He grinned and called out, "Brother-in-law." A rare smile touched Louis's lips. He pulled a card from his pocket and handed it to him. "For expenses." Danny took it without hesitation. "Thanks, bro." Then he leaned in and whispered to me, "Sis, I'm so glad you finally locked him down. I was worried he'd die alone." I rolled my eyes at him. "Don't be fresh." Walking along the tree-lined paths of the university, surrounded by vibrant young faces, I felt a wave of emotion. "What are you thinking about?" Louis took my hand, our fingers lacing together. "I'm thinking that if it weren't for you, my brother and I would probably still be struggling in some forgotten corner of the world," I said sincerely. He stopped and turned to face me, his gaze serious. "Ava, listen to me. I'm not your savior. You are. You're the one who fought your way out of the mud." He paused, then added, "I just got lucky and found the brightest star." My nose tingled. I stood on my toes and kissed him. Not far away, Danny covered his eyes and yelled, "Hey! It's broad daylight. Get a room." Epilogue 2. In the end, I never did manage to straighten out Gus. After I officially became the missus, he was despondent for a while, feeling he'd been wronged. "Ma'am, do you think I'm just doomed to never find true love?" he lamented, squatting outside Louis's office, smoking. "My type is rarer than a giant panda." "You never know when fate will strike," I told him. I didn't expect to be so right. Not long after, Louis hired a top-tier bodyguard from overseas for his personal security. The bodyguard's name was Shane. He was 6'3", taciturn, built like a brick wall, and had an aura that could part crowds. When he stood still, he was an immovable object. The first time Gus saw Shane, his eyes practically bugged out. That day, Shane was in the gym, hitting a punching bag. He was shirtless, sweat glistening on his bronze skin, every muscle taut with explosive power. Gus was practically drooling. He sidled up to him. "Hey man, nice form. Can you teach me?" Shane didn't even look at him, just smashed a fist into the bag with a deafening thump. Far from being scared off, Gus got even more excited, trailing after Shane like a lovesick puppy. "Hey, what's your name? Hey, what's your favorite food? Hey, you need a boyfriend? One who can cook, clean, and fight?" Finally, Shane stopped. He turned and stared at Gus with his emotionless eyes, slowly uttering two words. "Shut up." Gus was ecstatic. He ran to me to report the news. "Ma'am." He talked to me. He told me to shut up. He's so cool, I love him. I was speechless. Somehow, through sheer persistence, Gus managed to melt that mountain of ice. Later, I'd occasionally catch a glimpse on the security monitors of Gus being pinned against a wall by Shane, being kissed until he was red in the face and completely dazed. Well, good for them. I wished them all the best. Epilogue 3. I never thought Louis would propose to me. In a relationship like ours, a proposal seemed like an unnecessary formality. Until one day, I was working on a design draft when he came back from outside and tossed a file folder in front of me. "What's this?" I asked curiously, opening it. Inside was a thick stack of documents, property deeds, stock transfer agreements. In the beneficiary blank, one name was written over and over, Ava. I was stunned. "What? What are you doing?" "Everything I own," he said succinctly, his tone as casual as if he were discussing the weather. "Sign it." "Why?" "We need these to go to the courthouse tomorrow." I was completely dumbfounded. It took me a moment to process. "Louis, is this your idea of a proposal?" I couldn't believe it. Who proposes like this? It feels like you're signing a merger. He raised an eyebrow, as if considering my point. He then pulled a velvet box from his pocket and opened it. There was no giant diamond ring inside. Instead, it was a silver necklace with a small star pendant, the one my mother had left me. At some point, he had had the silver star encrusted with tiny, delicate diamonds. It sparkled gently in the light. He took the necklace and put it on me himself. Then he leaned down and placed a searing kiss on my forehead. Ava, I never had a home. After I met you, you became my home. So, he took my hand, his gaze burning into mine as he spoke each word with intense seriousness. Will you give me a home? I looked at the man before me, the man who had once terrified me and had also shielded me from the world. Tears streamed down my face. I was crying and laughing at the same time as I nodded vigorously. I will. I, the canary who had flown for half her life, had finally, willingly, flown back to his cage. No, not a cage. Home.